So about 11 a.m. on the 18th of March, they got into the Dardanelles, and then Queen Elizabeth sent the first shot, into Turkish fort just down there. There's the other Hamidiye fort. But Turkish fort Hamidiye didn't answer because roughly from here 14 kilometers, they took the line. So from right to left, if I say the names, Prince George, covering the flank, and then Queen Elizabeth, Lord Nelson, Agamemnon, Inflexible, and Triumph. This is the line. There are 6 ships. So 2 ships, Prince George and Triumph, protecting flanks, and 4 ships in the middle with the main bombardment. So targeting, 6 forts in the narrow sea. So then they concentrated fire on Mecidiye, Hamidiye on the other side, and Çimenlik. This is Çimenlik fort, and then Hamidiye over there. And Turkish force opened fire, but seeing too far, 14 kilometers, so not very effective range. So just, stop bombardment, not to waste your shells. British interpreted this like, reduced Turkish, force. So then second line waiting behind, French line, 4 French ships, along the flanks, advanced. So plan was French would try to open imagine like a corridor through the minefields, like 1 kilometer or 900 yards, then get into the harbor just around the corner, and then reduce Turkish force by gunfire. But when they pushed forward, almost 9 kilometers advanced, very close to Turkish guns, so reducing range, and all Turkish artillery, seeing the range, opened tremendous bombardment on French ships, like a shield of fire. And the Turkish officer, staff officer, who was on top of the hills watching the battle, naval attack, he said in his memoirs, first we could see all the pillars of water around the ships, but then all disappeared. Then I was worried, maybe I thought Turkish artillery stopped or something. Then I telephoned, artillery nearby, and they said all the shells hit the ships, so you don't see any pillars in the water. And ships didn't sink, but personnel loss was very high, Fires broke, cabins were destroyed, men lost arms, legs, personnel loss were very high. After 2 hours exchange of fire, bombardment, French thought that it was, impossible. And very hot, Admiral de Rebecque, seeing French in trouble, told them, to back, to replace by second, squadron, British waiting behind. Then 4 ships, started, backing about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. 2 along this side, 2 along this side. But 10 days before naval attack, a Turkish mine layer called Nusrat, this is model of that ship, went from that point, skirting the beach all the way down, and put 26 mines, parallel to the coast, where they were missed somehow. Nobody knows how they were missed. British swept, from the air. They did reconnaissance, but it's very difficult to find mines. I have naval people in Turkish Navy. They do NATO exercises over there, and they say to me, we drop mines, and all the NATO ships look for them for about a week. Still, we cannot find them. And then there are signals they give. So in the end, we use signals and pick them up. So today's technology even, cannot find 100%. So very difficult operation, I think. And my opinion is, Turks put the mines across like this, but last mines were put like parallel to the coast. And British, ships, they used to sweep this way, 2 fishing boats, a wire behind, and then like kites, weights, to keep them in the water, and pull the steel rope, like this. So hitting the mines like this, and then destroy it like this. But assuming all put, when you do, it works. But when you put the mines, maybe like a tiny line, missed, between the sections, swept, in my opinion. So somehow they missed them, and then Bouvet, while going back, struck a mine, and in 3 minutes, they say, sank with all hands, almost 666. Roger Keyes says in his book, almost 666 people lost. And flagship, Geprat's flagship was also damaged, Suffren, and then had to move headquarters to Sharman. That was the only ship that could be used after naval attack. And GalliWFA, hit by a Turkish shell, 30 centimeters from the side, underwater level, so started, sinking. And Dublin cruiser, British went to help her, but refused help, they say. So managed to get out and beach on an island before the Dardanelles. So French Navy or squadron was almost done for. Only 1 ship, could be used, 3, useless. And then British, ships behind, then, attempted, to continue bombardment. And joining the other British ships, 6, almost 10 ships, start bombarding, Turkish, force in the afternoon. But when it's 4:15, 4 and 4:15, two British ships, you know, struck mines. Inflexible battle cruiser, which would deal with Goeben, I told you before, struck a mine. On the right-hand side, about 6 meters hole was opened, seawater rushed in, and all the electric motors, they said, stopped and dark, you know. But the other sections were able to keep float, you know, the ship, because all the doors were closed. So listing 20 degrees went out of Dardanelles, and then beach on Tenedos Island. About a year later, she was taken to Malta, you know, for repairs. So that fine ship, they say, was lost, you know, by a man. 20,000, you know, ship, 100 kilos of explosive, you know, can finish, you know, just imagine. So Inflexible, you know, was out, and then 15 minutes later, Irresistible, you know, another British ship, almost the same area, struck another mine, and likewise, you know, about 6:30 sank. I read memoirs of people who were on board, like 700 people just gathered, you know, on the ship, and Turkish artillery firing from here and here, like closing, you know, getting closer. It says in the memoirs, a British, we gathered on the ship, and Turkish artillery, you know, just getting closer. But just before they met on us, destroyers came and saved us, and we were just 100 yards away, 200 yards. Then Turkish artillery met on the ships and just sank the ship. You know. So 6:30, Irresistible lost. But before she sank, Ocean, you know, was told to help her tow, if possible, in out of Dardanelles. So two ships were being drifted, you know, by currents down that way. And Seyit's Hadler captain, seeing it was almost impossible because they were getting closer to the Turkish artillery, you know, towards the beaches. And then Admiral Dörbeck told him to pull off and give it up. So, you know, just, you know, left. As soon as she left, 100 yards, 200 yards went, struck another mine, you know, in the same area, Ocean this time. And then they say a Turkish man on the other side who carried, you know, shells like 200 kilos on his back. One of the shells fired from that fort hit like propeller or steering gear and got stuck, they say. So ship in the end, you know, sank, drifting, you know, in the currents. About 10:30 she sank. British actually gave orders to leave the ship to her destiny. They didn't see, even they were worried Turks could take it, you know, use later. And some ships returned to torpedo her, but they couldn't find it in the night. So already sank. So naval attack lasted almost 6 hours, 45 minutes, or 7 hours, they say. And 3 sank, 2 British, 1 French, 800 lost. And 6 ships altogether out of, you know, 16 or 18 ships used. 3, you know, battle damage. So they didn't expect it. It was stunning. Admiral Dörbeck couldn't believe, they said, pacing back and forth, you know, couldn't believe what happened. And British naval historians say British Navy since Nelson's days has never had similar disaster at seas, you know, before, which happened here in the Dardanelles. And Turkish losses about, you know, 120 dead and, you know, wounded, 120 men, and Turks used 82 guns. We had 230 guns totally in the whole ports. 82 of them were used, and 2,400 shells, you know, spent. We had 10,000 shells, you know, in the stores, and remained almost 8,000. So most probably we could stop 2 more attacks, you know, similar to the one, you know, they did on the 18th of March 1915. But when you read British literature on the campaign, mostly they say if they renewed the attack, they could get through. I don't think so. This is a, you know, general story in British, you know, literature on the campaign. But I don't think they could make it. Very risky. And if you have done military history, this is very similar to Port Arthur, you know, attack Japan and Russia, you know, in 1905 did in Korea. Ian Hamilton, interestingly, was in that army, you know, as a British observer in 1905 in Japanese army. And you remember, the Japanese attacked on weak Russian navy, and then Russian retreat into Port Arthur, and Japan followed, but they lost 4 ships, you know, in the channel, so they couldn't get in. And then landed army, you know, on Korea, 3 armies. After very tough fightings, they occupied a hill called, you know, 213 meters high. Then put howitzers on and destroyed Russian navy behind, you know, in the harbor in Port Arthur, you know, in Korea. So after navy failed, they looked around, and Aceh Baba, you know, over there's a hill, you know,